Well, I guess my doomsday scenario of a 2-4 start looks pretty silly right now, and I'll admit that. I'll be the first to admit that. But I'm always a worrywart. Your typical Bama fan. We think in terms of seasons, not so much games. But as far as games go, boy, Bryce Young really looked the part. He exceeded expectations from everybody, I suppose. I mean, 4 touchdowns. He looked like a fifth year senior. He looked like a more mature Tua, really, to me. Uh, Total command. You know, uh, Even when he was scrambling with purpose, looking down the field the whole way, and usually picked the right guy. There was a big drop there early that would have been a touchdown, but they wound up scoring anyway because they pretty much dominated. The O line looked great. Uh, the running back situation, I don't think that's settled yet. I've never felt like Brian Robinson was the guy. Uh, Trey Sanders looked like he may have the juice. You never know. Rory McClellan uh, has always been a favorite of mine. I picked him out last year, but he fumbles. He did recover his own fumble, but he's still probably going to be in Saban's doghouse for a while. But like I said, the running back situation. It seems like it's probably a lot of good guys, good running backs, but a real beast, a real alpha hasn't emerged yet, and I would like to see that happen. Um, Christopher Allen, that was it's not devastating, but it hurts a lot. It makes us not nearly as scary a defense. We were scary good with him. You could definitely see a drop off after he went out. But the good news is we've got a lot of young guys behind him, and it happened early enough that they're going to have enough time, hopefully, when we need them. The bad news is we've got a lot of early landmines in this season. Florida in a couple of weeks. Uh, Ole Miss and Texas A&M, basically right after them. And so we're going to need those guys to step up quickly and get on board, and hopefully they'll be able to adjust and regroup well enough for these guys to do what they got to do, which is raise the trophy at the end of the season. Like I said, we don't think of games, we think of seasons. And, you know, for me, the holy grail right now is three in a row. I mean, three in a row is something. Alabama to this point, we win championships. Everybody knows that. But three in a row is something that's never been done by anyone in the modern era. And Alabama's probably flirted with it more than anybody. Uh, Bear Bryant in 64 and 65. Then he goes undefeated in 66, but because of political reasons, which, we're not going to, we don't get into that kind of stuff here. This is about football. And so that happened. And then again in 78 and 79, Bear Bryant goes for it again and was not able to pull it off. And Saban in 11 and 12, and then the kick six. That happened. And so as you can see, the three-peat, that's the thing. That's that's the thing that would just end all conversation, I think, about who the greatest coach is, who the greatest program of all time is. Once and for all, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, and USC, be damned. Alabama is the greatest program of all time. And it seems like that would be the exclamation point if we could finally get that three-peat. But, talk about looking ahead. But no, all that being said, this is the kind of team, this is the kind of quarterback that we're going to have for 2 years now, at least. Uh, 2 years, come on. But they got the juice. They've definitely got the juice. But like I said, they seems like the SEC might be, we might look at the results at the end of the year and think differently. But I mean, right now it seems like the SEC has got a lot of teams that are ascending. Uh, the East is much stronger than it's been. It, it's been that way for the last few years, last couple of years. But it's it seems like they're all on that same trajectory. Florida and Georgia. But that brings us to Georgia Clemson, which, you know, Alabama did look like a team that was just ready for prime time. Just not skipping a beat, dominant offense. Like I was saying in the video yesterday, offenses win championships now, and Alabama looked like they had a championship offense, but Georgia did not, and neither did Clemson, and zero offensive touchdowns in that game. How is that happening in 2021? Ugh. I mean, it seems to me like Kirby Smart has got the same problem that he's had, for at least the last couple of years. He's just not got an offense. He's still got that, 80s Big Ten looking offense going, and that's just not going to cut it anymore. You can't do it. You can't have a defense that's good enough anymore because of the rules changes and the way everybody has taken advantage of that. So, we'll see. Those were two Titans. That was the big game of the weekend, I suppose. And it looked like neither one of those teams are ready for Bama. Oklahoma didn't look like they were ready for Bama. I mean, Tulane might be one of the better teams on Oklahoma's schedule after everything's said and done this season. But that doesn't bode well to me. It looks like Oklahoma might be running into some of their same old problems, which is, defense. And, Rattler didn't look, earth moving either, compared to some of the quarterbacks they've had come through there recently. But, like I said, it's week one. We didn't learn much. We probably learned more in that Clemson Georgia game than anything, which is Georgia has an elite defense, but they're gonna have to work on that offense if they wanna be able to get into the playoff and compete with Bama and SEC championships and that sort of thing. Uh, so that moves on. That moves us on to Ohio State, who, you know, kudos for them. They played a road conference game against a pretty decent team with a pulse that definitely played that part on Thursday when they played. But, they had a quarterback that's never thrown before. They've got plenty of room for growth and time to work through all those sort of things. But they're, as far as all the contenders so far, I think they look probably better than anybody because of the road conference aspect of that game, and they got pushed, and they were able to, show that they could handle adversity, and that's worth its weight in gold in college football. It just is. But and that moves us on to the rest of the SEC. I'm a Bama guy. This is an SEC show. So Bowling Green, Tennessee. What are you going to learn from a game like that? Not much. Tennessee looked good though. Heupel, his tenure has started off the way Tennessee fans want it to. Kentucky, UL Monroe, 45-10. 45 points is pretty good for Kentucky. So that bodes well for them, right? But again, week one, UL Monroe. What are you going to learn from a game like that? Rice, Arkansas. Arkansas looks good again. I think Pittman probably has something going pretty decent there. I expect them to be a bowl team for sure. Obviously, we went over Alabama, Miami, Louisiana Tech, Mississippi State. You know, this is one of those situations where it could mean one of two things. 35-34, they have to come back. Biggest comeback in the history of Mississippi State. You know, kudos for Mike Leach and those guys for that. But, like I said, one of two scenarios can come out of this. Either this is a resilient team that just took a half to get things together, first game of the season, blah, 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 blah. Or it could be a team that's going to struggle because they can't get things going against a mediocre, Louisiana Tech mid-major team. But we'll see. Like I said, first game of the week, first week of the season, you just can't tell too much, really. Can't read too much into this stuff. All right, Missouri, 10-point win over Central Michigan. Missouri is a solid team. They're always a pretty solid team. They're not going to collapse or anything. They're probably going to. Yeah, they're definitely going to be pushing for a bowl, if not more. Auburn. 60-10. They probably looked Auburn, Alabama, and South Carolina probably looked better than any of the teams in the SEC this week so far. I know Georgia got the big win over Clemson, but like I said, both of those teams looked like they were in the Stone Ages. That was ridiculous. That's not going to cut it. Both of those teams are going to have to work on their offenses. We got Florida Atlantic over Florida. Florida 35-14, and they're working through stuff. Their ceiling is high, looks like to me. I'm worried about that game. I really am. Early in the season, Florida, Alabama, they pushed us to the limit last season. And in their place, like I said, with the Allen injury, the defense is not going to be the monster that you'd want it to be just overly confident that you're going to handle them in that environment. Georgia, Clemson, we already went over that. Kent State, Texas A&M. Texas A&M, they looked like Texas A&M. We'll see about that. Kent State, Texas A&M, you learn nothing about a game like that. Who knows? Who cares? Vanderbilt, oh boy. New coach, Vanderbilt. Getting beat by a FCS team, 23-20, or 23-3, by 20 points. Oof. Well, Vandy. Vandy gonna Vandy. And LSU, UCLA, and the big dumb gorilla had himself a big trip out west and could not figure it out. Well, that's at least one prediction of mine that came true. All right, guys, I hope to see you again soon, maybe Thursday. We got an interesting game with Lane Kiffin, the Lane Train, who's going to be coaching it from his house because of the COVID. And that's going to be interesting. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the upcoming weekend, which is going to be interesting, as always. And thank you, guys.